It's been a really busy week. 18th of July being Mandela Day, where many people observe kind of 67 minutes globally in memory of Madiba. We had a collaboration with the Dandelion Philosophy Foundation in an event called A Chicken Called Tomorrow. Then this week saw me facilitating an event for C40 cities, the International Council on Cleaner Transport, and the Department of Transport on zero public transport or zero emission public transport vehicles. And then we've just emerged today, the 26th of July, from a session with Seken Kadimeng and the team from Conscious Planet around a global movement called Safe Soil. Absolutely. I think the event, Chicken Called Tomorrow, was really showing how a single chicken, if prepared and used correctly, can provide a meal for a family for a week rather than one chicken being for one meal. And Nazim, of course, showcased for us the options of what becomes possible. I think we live in an age where the consciousness around what we eat, how it's prepared, what energy is entering the food we eat, is something that many of us are not thinking about. So, for example, ordering food in an establishment where the staff who are preparing that food may well feel angry for a reason or frustrated. All of that energy actually enters the food. I think the conscious decision making, not just about food, but about every action we take in life, is important. And that links, in fact, to the event on zero emission public transport, because all of us want a better environment. We all want cleaner air to breathe. We all want less congested cities, yet very few of us will consciously make the decision to utilize public transport. So the first thing is just to think about how much space cars take up in society. Especially when we have a one-person, one-car culture. So if you look at, how much space does 60 individual cars take up versus one bus that maybe can have 60 people, or 3 minibus taxis of 22 seaters each, or 60 bicycles or 60 people walking. It's very different. And for many South Africans, there's a tendency to, when they travel globally, talk about how great the public transport systems are. But of course, for public transport to work, more people have to use it. And unfortunately, in South Africa, we have a situation where the assumption is that public transport is for the poor and everyone else just wants to own a private vehicle. I think even when one owns a private vehicle, there's the opportunity to utilize public transport. And it's one part is about emissions and the environment, but it's also about the social aspect of who you meet, what you learn, the experiences you get from sharing road space and transport with other people. And it does feel like too often the people with power and voice don't use the public transport system. And so many of the dysfunctional elements of the public transport system don't necessarily get the attention they need because there aren't enough people who have the influence to actually hold the providers of public transport accountable for the quality of transport that they give to youth. I would love to see young people. So let's just take the fact that anyone under 18 is a captive user of public transport. They can't actually have a driver's license, which means they're either depending on their parents or someone else they know to drive them around until they can get their driver's license. There's also things like the hours of operation of public transport. Young people often tend to want to be out till later at night. Now, in a country that has such a youthful population, to have our public transport systems not necessarily operating at the hours that young people need them. The fact that public transport is communication and information around public transport is so difficult to come by. I would love to see young South Africans beginning to challenge government for the kind of public transport system that they do want. And in fact, across the globe, many people are saying, I actually don't want to own a car. It's not an asset. There are massive expenses that come with car ownership. And even if I do own a car, I don't necessarily want to use it every day. But then the public transport system must be good enough to enable people to move around without having to overplan and overthink their journey planning. And I think it would be wonderful to see young people take up a mass campaign that pushes public authorities to improve public transport. Fire station, the very system that politically I had headed when I was the MMC for transport in the city of Johannesburg. On Monday, I was needing to do a site visit to Pretoria, got there and realized that the system was not running at all, and I had to make an alternate arrangement. Yesterday, again, as you've indicated with the international guest, we were trying to get Rehana cards loaded. The system was offline. Apparently, when they went back to another station, they were asked to get cash. They went back to another station. There was no staff member there to load value for them. Now, the first thing is, if we want to convince anybody to use public transport, then it has to be reliable. It has to be efficient. It has to be integrated. The communication systems, and people need to know where do these systems actually go. I have heard about young people who have turned down job opportunities because they did not know that there was public transport that could take them to an area where they had a job. So I think young people beginning to demand more of the public transport system is really a campaign that I think shouldn't be run by government. I think young people should be organizing to say there are just too many gaps in the current public transport system. A meeting with Tseke Kadimeng and Sanam Mystery that we had 2 weeks ago, where they came to introduce the work that they've been doing on Save the Soil. Tseke in particular, in fact, 4 years to the day today, set off to walk 10,000 kilometers across South Africa, gaining signatures around soil health and presenting those signatures at the union buildings. And it was beautiful today to have Tseke and Sanam and a team of volunteers from the Isha Foundation introducing Save the Soil to our network of people in the Barefoot space and the Barefoot Facilitator. And I think the team, including Gino, Tseke and Sanam, did a beautiful job of showing us the conscious planet resources, why it is that we all need to be concerned by what is happening to the quality of our soil.